And welcome back to Stories from the River. We're in the middle of our World Business Forum New York City series. And Heather, welcome back to the pod.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
And I'm also here with Lynn Knowles. Lynn, this was your first time at World Business Forum New York City, right?
Yes, it was. It was an amazing experience.
Awesome. We're so glad you could be there with us. And so we're just going through each speaker, one episode per speaker, to really kind of unpack some of our takeaways. And so we got to listen to Olympic gold medalist and 20-something medal winner.
Most decorated female track athlete in Olympic history.
She's amazing. So Allyson Felix is who we're talking about. So today we're talking about Allyson Felix.
Welcome to Stories from the River, a show in which we go behind the scenes at Broad River Retail.
And her session was not like her giving a presentation. It was really like a fireside chat. Now, he asked her a lot of questions. It went on for quite a while, but she was so incredibly poised to me. What were your, Heather, just overall takeaways of Allyson?
You know, in the airport on the way out to New York, Stacy asked me, who am I most looking forward to? And for me, it was Allyson. Growing up, I remember watching Allyson run. I was a runner when I was in middle school and high school. And she's just somebody, when I think about the Olympics, I think about Allyson. But to hear her and see her was just completely just her demeanor and her care and how intentional and thorough she was. And then hearing her journey in becoming a mother and that experience becoming a mother and fighting for maternal protections. I thought I'd be blown away, but I was even more blown away than I thought I would be. She's just an incredibly special human and is doing so much good in our world.
Yeah, that's really well said. So I'm glad I don't have to follow that response. Lynn, what were your takeaways?
I think for her being such a competitor at such a high level, but being very gentle and personable. Sometimes you think of fierce athletes as just, and she was not that way, and approachable. And we had the good fortune to even shake a hand and meet her at the conclusion of her presentation, which it was really special.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we got a special invitation to go behind the scenes and meet her, and very humble, very down to earth, so poised during that entire interview process. And so she talked a lot about goals and goal setting. And how did she talk about her approach to going after big goals?
Yeah, she talked a lot about visualization, which I really loved. She's a goal setter, and I think you have to be a competitive athlete. But when she talked about visualization and visualizing the perfect race, what does it look like step by step? How does it feel? I think as she walked through that and seeing it and believing it was part of her methodology and part of, as she continued to goal set and break a lot of goals, how she continued to grow and challenge herself.
Mm-hmm.
I think that one of the things that struck me about her was her work ethic.
Mm-hmm.
Even when it was hard, she persevered through all of that. The fact that she ran longer distances in preparation for the sprint, that's how you train in running, so that the sprints seem easy. And even though she hated it, I just think she did not take the easy way out, even when things got tough.
Yeah, everything was a building block. And so her coach made her do these 1 mile time trials. And she's a sprinter, 100 meter, 200 meter runs. That's that's considerably shorter. She's not built to be a distance runner, but she said that gave her that mental toughness. And so I'll just riff on the goal setting. She broke it down into smaller goals and then the work ethic. It was 6 days a week, 5 hours a day, 3 hours of which were at the track.
Mm-hmm.
And then before the race, as you said, that visualization technique of just seeing the race, but also I think she talked about logging every single workout.
Yep.
And then before the races, she would review that log to just remind her of all the work she had put in and just like to know I can do it. And I've done it before and I've been through tough times before. And what did she say about, the start? Because
Yeah.
Yes. She said she always struggled with the start. And in the 100-meter race, that is critical. I mean, it happens fast in 10 seconds or less. And so she discovered that was somewhat of a weakness while she worked on it, but identified that her sweet spot was the 200, where she could be hyper competitive.
Mm-hmm.
And so what that says to me, translated in the World Business Forum, context is, we all need to find our sweet spot, and not every role is for every one.
I love how you drew that connection from talking about that, finding your perfect niche within an organization. That's a really great takeaway. She talked a lot about, just her own parents and upbringing, and then becoming a mother. And so Heather, talk about like maybe her upbringing first, and then how she parlayed that into what you mentioned, maternal protections, and what she's fighting for now.
Yeah, she talked a lot about her childhood. She wasn't somebody who set out to be a runner or who had this gift at age 3 and was running, but it came a little bit later for her. And she talked about the support of her parents and her parents being there for her all the time, her mother being a teacher, her father being a pastor, and just that unconditional love. They showed up, they were at the track, win or lose, they were cheering her on. And as she goes further into her story, she talks about becoming a mother and what that did for her career, kind of changed her as an athlete. Being an athlete who was going to become a mom, that's not necessarily something that's talked about. And so she talked about hiding her own pregnancy for many, many months and what that meant for her as an athlete, and even how she came back from it. And so for me, I think a lot, and Lynn, you can relate, about being a working mom and what it looks like and it feels like. And it's not easy, but certainly fighting for it and fighting for what she believes is right through maternal protections.
I think something she said that was very poignant was, it was not until her 4th Olympics, post childbirth, did she have her crystallizing moment at the starting gate where she really felt like she was most in the moment and could soak everything in and felt such a sense of accomplishment and satisfaction and completeness.
Yeah. I love that, in track and field at that high level, sometimes you become a mom, they're like, that's your career's over. And she said, no, that's only going to drive me to come back and still go win those gold medals. And I know what I'm going to have to put into it, but I want to be a role model for other women, other moms, and for my, child one day. And now I'm wearing my running shoes for this episode. And Allyson, I hope you appreciate this, because she she's now transitioned into another career. She created a lifestyle brand for women called Seish. It's footwear for women. So what was your takeaway now that she's gone into this new career of like Seish and what she's doing with that brand, that company?
Well, I think it's kind of her journey there, coming out of running and retiring. One of the things that she found was that running shoes aren't made off a woman's foot. And so the running shoes that we wear every day is created off a mold of a man's foot, but a woman's foot might have different curves or different shape or might be narrower. So she really found this niche in the market and went after that with her brother to create this brand that really is created for the female foot, becoming a lifestyle brand.
And I think part of it too, that she was able to do it on her own terms. And was not confined by rules of any other organization, and could kind of lay the groundwork for the brand herself.
Yeah. Do you know what someone asked, what is Seish? And I don't know if that's exactly how it's spelled, how she spells it, because I think she spells it phonetically, she said. But what does the Seish wave mean?
The perfect balance.
Yeah, it restores balance.
Restoring balance.
Yeah, I thought that was great. So we talked about her upbringing, that they were very competitive. They told her she couldn't quit. Her coach, the mental exercises, the running the mile and preparing her and coming back and fighting for maternal protections now in her current company, like 18 months, I think is what they talked about, for new moms. And then this lifestyle brand and redefining success is having impact now. That's where she wants success to be, is not winning gold medals, but having impact, and almost like a pay it forward mentality for the next generation. And we talked about embracing the failure, hardship, or disappointment. When she didn't get a medal in the first Olympics she was in, but the drive that gave her, to not quit, to keep going, to 4 more years of that training and enduring that. Any other takeaways that you had? I've got like one more I'll share, but any other that you had, Heather?
She talked about her relationship with her coach. And I think this was one of the questions that was asked by the audience. And so she talked about how really above all things about him was just the care that he put into each one of his athletes. And they weren't just an athlete, or she wasn't just a runner, but she was a person. And so she talked about being really guarded. It was kind of running and then her, and she didn't, she's good. But when her grandmother passed, I believe it was, that she didn't tell her coach. She didn't say anything, and she went to the funeral and he showed up. And in that moment of showing up, it just said that he cared about her and he loved her and he wanted to be there for her. And it was unexpected. And it just was kind of that moment that said, she's more to him and she means something.
Yeah, that was a great takeaway.
I think with all the adversity, because she had a quick rise, she came on the scene fast and then came back the following Olympics. And I think it was 2012 and silver medaled again. And I mean, that's a long commitment to, like, your goal is 4 years away and you have to work hard for that. And so she just kept on and kept training. And her commitment to that, along with what she stands for. And a phrase that she used, which really resonated with me, was use your voice even if it's shaking. And a lot of women today don't feel that they're either worthy for the position that they're in or even worthy to aspire to the next position. And we need to use our voice even if it's shaking.
Very well said. And so my takeaway was very, based off of, having that voice. Someone had, Chris was reading questions that people had posed, and someone had asked that Chris read, what would you tell 12-year-old Allyson if you could go back and give her advice? And she thought about it for a second and she said, don't be afraid of the path before you. So just kind of, I don't know if it's being fearless or just being courageous or being bold, in spite of having the fear, even if your voice is shaking, just to go forward and being okay with that. So I think she has found purpose and meaning in paying it forward and helping bring forward, new female athletes, leaders, executives, et cetera. So I thought that was great. All right. That is all we've got from the Allyson Felix series. Thanks for checking out the World Business Forum New York City series from Stories from the River. We try to bring you fresh new content every week, wherever you check out your podcast or even on YouTube. Thanks for checking us out. Feel free to leave us a comment, like, subscribe.
Thanks for listening to Stories from the River. To check out more episodes, visit storiesfromtheriver.com. Join us again next week, and remember to like, rate, and subscribe to the podcast.